the mouth was out of sync. Actually out of sync.
Biddy is surrounded by messy lava monsters!
That just was not in sync. Are you kidding me? Which can substantially reduce production time and costs. You can also reduce production time and costs if you just don't have the characters just don't have the mouths move at all. So we got ourselves a Disney AI preschool show. That's the headline. And that tells us very little because there is so much misinformation around this that it'll make your head spin. That does not mean that it's not bad. It is bad. But we as objective criticizers of AI have to figure out what is bad about it. And that's why you need to come to me when you see stuff like this and not go to Reddit. So I got up here 4 different Reddit posts discussing this from a descending spectrum of anti-AI to just r/technology, which is probably still anti, but not as anti as anti. We have AI Wars, which purports itself to be neutral, but we all know is pro-AI. And then we have straight up r/defending AI art. So we're going to watch the Ozzy Fox itself. We're going to see what it looks like. But I want us to understand where AI was used before we watch it. And a problem that I'm having with this Ozzy Fox and me trying to be an objective journalist about this is I can't find anything on where they use the freaking AI in it. They're not honest. They're not telling me where it used AI. I'm seeing like a little bit. Like I tried to find like this source. If anyone has any better sources on like where it came from, I really did look, and I'm trying to see like what is the AI? Disney Junior and French AI driven animation company Animate. Okay, what is the AI? Is it they generated the whole show? Is it they generated the whole thing? I'm pretty sure from what I've seen that it's not that. But if that's not what it is, where was the AI used? You know, all that sort of stuff. And we can maybe get some answers as we watch it. But for now, I want to just see what these articles say of where the AI is used. And then from there, we can, when we look at the thing itself, I don't know if I should call it a work because I don't think AI takes work. But when we look at this thing, we can kind of have an idea of what it is. So Animage, which partnered with Disney to make this thing, which has made AI central to both its production model and corporate identity. Okay, so this is buzzword stuff. Like we can all see that, you know, how it's like, that doesn't give us an answer of what they're actually like using it for. For its part, Animage has promoted a proprietary pipeline using tools. We all know how I feel about calling AI a tool. Don't call AI a tool. Don't give them that, because a tool implies useful, and a tool also implies that you did it using the tool. Whereas that's not what AI does. AI does it for you. So that makes it not a tool. So don't allow people to normalize, even people who just discuss AI, who aren't even pro AI, never allow it to be normalized using the term tool to refer to AI. So using tools, including AI-assisted sketch-to-pose prediction and motion in-betweeny, which says it can substantially reduce production time and costs. I am a writing person, so I don't have this exact knowledge of animation, of sketch to pose prediction, motion in betweening. These sound like very, I can kind of understand from context what they mean, but there are, this is certainly something that has a little bit more subtlety to it. But what I can see from someone who studies this stuff is that we are getting what I would think is the most dangerous way of normalizing AI in the arts, which is AI assisting. So I usually call it AI first draft, person second draft. And that kind of sounds like sketch to pose prediction. I guess the sketch would be human first. So it would go sketch, human first, to pose, AI, and then from there back to human. So it's just one extra step where it's human first, AI second, human third. That's still bad. You can't have AI anywhere because when you use AI somewhere, it removes an element of the human intent that is necessary for art to flourish, that is necessary for art to exist. And if you don't see that, then you are defending mediocrity. You are defending the deterioration of the art of the world around us, and really defending the deterioration of the world around us for the sake of what? Reduce production time and costs? Do you really care about that, the average person? Is the production time and costs of a kid's show really something that you're like, ooh, we need to fix that? You know, and like, I'm not saying that it's not good to reduce production time and costs, to have it be that the arts industry can move a little faster and produce more content, but you can't do it at the cost of human intent. That is non-negotiable. So then it goes on to say, neither company has explained what role Animage's AI tools played in making Ozzy Fox. So like, this is the part that has bothered me the most, because I always thought that when something like this happened, when they were using AI in like a show or like something to put out there, that we would get transparency, you know, because like, you know, what I usually look at, let's go to our favorite, our buddy Sponge Truths, you know, like it all comes back to Sponge Truths. When it comes to something like Sponge Truths is not owned by Disney. You know, maybe Disney will buy Sponge Truths at some point. They might as well. Sponge Truths doesn't have the same kind of discretion that a big company like Disney does. And because of that, they don't really disclose very honestly where their AI is. And that leaves people like me, investigators, to have to go in and point out the tells and point out the evidence and point out all of these sorts of things. And this allows the public, who aren't people whose job it is to look at that, to understand that by default and avoid channels like Sponge Truths, which leads to Sponge Truths getting fewer views. This is how we fight AI on YouTube. But the main thing with YouTube, with random YouTube things, is that there is not transparency. We don't get that transparency. And I always expected that when this was, and I knew that they were going to try, I knew that certain things like this were going to pop up. I always thought that there would be some kind of transparency, that this would come with a separate video somewhere that says, here's how we made it, here's where the AI was used. And really, like, if AI is a valid way to make content, I feel like Disney, that would be in their best interest to put out a thing that says, here's how the AI was used. Look, it's not that bad. We have artists who are doing it. It's just saving us time. It's just doing this. Now, I don't believe that that's the case. I don't believe that anything that does a thing for you in art would do that, unless it's like super like remove background, you know, like there are these like exceptions that are things that aren't even really AI, but I just don't buy it with sketch to pose prediction. Sketch to pose. So from my understanding, you have a human draw the little fox, and then you say, hey, AI, put it in a pose. Now, what does that mean? Is there a list of 1,000 canned poses that were made by artists that the production has the permission to use? And then you take the sketch, and the sketch is designed that it can fit into many poses, and then it just goes into one of the poses that is already made by the artists? Because in which case, if it's that process, I wouldn't really be opposed to that. But it wouldn't really be AI. Like, that would, like, maybe you're just using it as a buzzword, but the AI is saying, like, it's the whole point of calling it AI, is it's intelligence. It's doing the thing for you. But if it's just slapping a thing that you sketched onto a specific pose, then that wouldn't be AI. Now, what it sounds like to me is that you take the sketch, and then the sketch is the prompt, and then it does a pose that it like generates from the internet. That's what it sounds like to me. And that's bad. I am against that. But I don't know, Disney, why don't you show us? Why don't you show us what it is? And I think that the reason that they don't want to show us is because it would make them look bad. Is because it just would, because then they'd have guys like me who are actually nitpicking it rather than what we get on Reddit, where it goes anti-AI, Disney Junior released an AI show, and you just get comments that are like, the quiet release. Wow, it seems they're not the proudest of their AI investment. So like, this is okay commentary, 1.2K upvotes. Like that, yeah, this didn't come out with big fanfare, not a lot of advertising. They were just trying to throw it out there to sort of like normalize it. But also like, this person didn't watch it. This person doesn't know. This person probably thinks, this person who said the quiet release, this person probably thinks that this is like fully AI generated. Like it's just like Sora 2. Hey, make me a kid show with a fox, and it just goes out there. That's probably what this person thinks it is when they said this and got 1.2K upvotes. This is how misinformation spreads even on our side. You know, like it's the confusion, and the lack of transparency leads to this confusion. Like on this technology, top comment, 510 upvotes. So 510 people liked this. AI art can't be copyrighted. Once the Disney bigwigs learn this fact, I suspect it won't be long before they about face, whatever that means. This is a meaningless statement. AI, like stuff, when you just like generate something with AI, there is something with copyright. I don't know all of the immediate subtleties at this moment of that, but this is a worthless contribution to this discussion, because this person sees the headline and they just think that the whole thing is generated by AI, and they just that's just what they think, and they just say things, and it goes out with all of this confusion and all of this misinformation. You know, we have, what does AI Wars say? Looking into it, it's not what people are assuming. The video itself is not AI generated. From what I can tell, the AI is just being used to clean up animation work. So that's like almost the most honest of what it is. And it's on one of my most hated subs, Arsenal's AI Wars. Though it's only 36 upvotes, it's way less. This is way less talked about than it is on these other subs. How, in what way, to what degree? You can't just throw out two letters and presume everything about a piece of media. Yeah, like at least these people are asking the right questions, but they're not getting the right answers. And then what does the offending AI art say? I am old enough to remember the crazy amount of pushback Pixar got for making Toy Story. All right, I'm done with you. Logical fallacy. This thing, ooh, it's like when the camera was invented and people were mad. Never listen to people who say this. They're lying to you. So insulting to Toy Story. Should I get mad at this? And you know what? Here's the thing about Toy Story. So this is funny that this person is saying that pushback to this is like people having pushback for Toy Story. Guys, there is like a ton of behind the scenes about how they made Toy Story. They were so transparent about how they made Toy Story. It was like a whole thing. Here's how we got the artists together to make a movie in this new medium. Like it's funny how that just connects to the things that I said that. Yeah, screw that. But also this person thinks, once again, this person thinks that this is a person who's defending AI. They think it's a fully AI generated thing. They're not talking about the subtleties of using it in the certain cleanup process or whatever it does. Oh, one more thing that has been annoying me with this, just another piece of the misinformation here. And like AI misinformation, they go together. Like it's the whole thing. It's the whole problem is misinformation. Another part of the misinformation here is on this headline, Ozzy Fox, a Disney Junior preschool series made blah, 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 debuted this week on YouTube and YouTube Kids and has earned 800K plus views in 2 days. When you read that, you think there's one video that got 800K views. That is what you think when you read that. It's what I thought when I read that. It's 2 episodes that each have about 400K views. I guess this one's going on 500K, but that's probably like, yeah. But most of these people are also these people. So in your mind, you see 800K views and you think 800,000 people watching one thing rather than 400,000 people watching 2 things. All right, let's see what this is. Let's see what it looks like. I don't want to do the toilet one. So let's just do the other one.
Don't clean up. You touched lava. You lose. Those are the rules.
So it's a bit choppy. I'm not like a huge animation expert, but my fiance who drew this little guy behind me is. Like she studied it in school. So she's going to give us a little more insight into like what this is, what's going on here.
So the reason to why this animation looks really choppy is in animation you have this thing called keyframing, and it's like these huge exaggeration points. And when we're looking at the characters, we can see them making these very stiff, exaggerated moves, and this is probably what the AI telling it from sketch to pose. You have a lot of that dramatic stuff because when you do the storyboard, or hence the sketches, they're only taking the keyframes, the more important spots, but you lose the in-betweenness, so you're not seeing the characters move naturally. Like if you were to take your hand, there was actually a scene where they were waving their hand, and typically you wave your hand like this, but it was just very like choppy, like if you were doing jazz hands. And that's not typically something you would do unless you, as the animator, you want to go out of your way to show for the scene that is what you're trying to show off. Yeah, I would just say that it just makes the whole project lose the human intent, because if you're not going to hire somebody to do the cleanup, then what is the point of having the project? Everything should be ran by a human. There's no reason to get AI involved. AI involved causes this nonsense. Like you can tell where the humans were. Obviously, a human designed the model. But then you have weird stuff going on with her eyeball.
Because,
the eyeball just is a little bit too inwards. That's not usually how you would draw that going all the way in. And why is her shining parts on two different sides, It doesn't look good. It just feels like an unpolished product. It's not studio standards, and Disney is supposed to be a studio standard company. It's usually what you would refer to when you study animation. They give you books and they refer to Disney a lot. For them to pull this, you're not getting the quality for it, and it's really annoying to see.
Biddy is surrounded by messy lava monsters!
Who will save her?
The mouth was out of sync. Actually out of sync.
Biddy is surrounded by messy lava monsters!
That just was not in sync. Are you kidding me? Emma's telling me that's something called mouth sync, which can substantially reduce production time and costs. You can also reduce production time and costs if you just don't have the characters just don't have the mouths move at all. That would reduce so much production time and cost. Can you imagine? Let's just do that in every show. Let's just have the characters stand there and just do the voices behind them. That would reduce a ton of production time and costs. Don't give me this argument, reduce production time and costs. Like, come on. Do they actually have the no villains are safe brain rot? Look at this. They have a bar. I'm gonna mute it because I don't want the music to copyright me. This is during the song. There's a bar on the side to tell you where the song is going. Dude, can we get any worse? Can we get any lower than that? It's got a bar. It's got a retention maxing bar of where the song is. Oh my goodness.
So one thing that I'm seeing in that quick little scene that really bothers me is the lack of camera movement. The cameras, when you make either animation or film, but in terms of animation, we have, well, I guess it also carries to film too, but you have the extreme close-ups, and they are used to tell the mood of the scene. I'm not really getting any mood from that. It just feels like someone who does not understand how to use the camera. Well, and let's be real, the camera part is probably the AI, because somebody trained in animation would have known that that wasn't a good placement to put the camera. Like, there's already enough motion going on the screen that you don't need to do that. And you have the other side of where they also do that because they know their animation is boring. It just feels like you're watching like puppets performing. At least the puppets are, people try at it. It's not needed. They're trying to distract you just like the little slop bar in the side.
Okay, so let's talk about in the most good faith analysis I can give. What is the purpose of something like this? What is the purpose of preschool shows? What is the social function of the existence of preschool shows? Now, if you're an apathetic person, if you are someone who is probably not a very good parent, you think that preschool shows are meant to make your kid shut up. And if this is what you believe about what the purpose of preschool shows is, what the social function of preschool shows are, then your apathy will be the death of our species. And your contributions to any discussion are worthless, and you should keep your mouth shut. So let's talk about the actual purpose of preschool shows, which is much like the purpose of shows for any age, to teach lessons, to improve our social understanding, to improve our understanding of the world around us. But preschool shows do one thing that all other shows don't do, which is teach specific skills that, like, for example, like, I mean, the big example is Sesame Street, the Count. He teaches you how to count, you know, like there isn't really much of an equivalent of that. Like there's not like, you know, there's not like a James Bond movie that teaches you how to do your taxes, you know, like when we're adults, we kind of separate those things, like learning to do like certain skills and watching movies and TV shows. We've separated these things. We just kind of, you know, we just go to a tax guy, or we look it up on the internet, or we read a book that specifically tells us how to do a certain thing in order to do certain things. When someone is of preschool age, there is a social necessity to tie in teaching kids how to do something with stories and characters. This is why Sesame Street is such a net positive for humanity. So this thing that we're looking at here does understand that social function. It is not just things happening on the screen. As we can see, the floor is lava, squeaky cleanup game. From what I gather, what this is doing is through song and animation, it is trying to impart a lesson about cleaning up after yourself and give a fun way that a kid can clean up after themselves by using some kind of game with like the floor is lava or something. That is a positive. That is a good thing to do that. It is good that preschool shows do that. But just because that is present doesn't excuse the AI, the choppiness, all this stuff. Because the human intent, the parts about art, the parts of art that are important to art, make that message better portrayed. And there is something that is missing from this because of the AI assistedness. But it's harder to tell because they cover it up. So why do this? Why have this be an AI thing? Why hide all of this? Well, it's to normalize it. That is the scheme here. That is why it's, as someone said, a quiet release. Like this person was right. You know, they didn't get all the nuances, but they were right. Yeah, the quiet release. They put it out there. And that's why it's a preschool show. A preschool show is going to get there are a lot of parents out there that do not care what their kids are watching as long as it keeps them quiet. That is going to give a lowered amount of scrutiny on something like this. It's going to make it more likely that it's going to get higher viewership because you are specifically targeting people who are less likely to care, which just further normalizes it. It's schemes. They're schemes. It's all being used to push. I guess I could call it an agenda that you can use AI in the process. And it's flooded with so much misinformation, with so much misunderstanding that we can't really question anything that's going on. And basically, it's just going to get to a point where here's what they want. They want you to accept lower quality art. And there are two reasons that evil people would want that. The first is the obvious one. It makes them more money. It lowers the production costs and all that sort of stuff. That's certainly a part of it. But I think that there is something a little deeper going on here. A desire for those in power to lessen how much we view the arts in our lives. This is why we get this attitude of, oh, shows don't have to mean anything. Shows can just be fun. When in reality, the thing that makes a show fun is the same thing that makes it meaningful. They're one-to-one. The idea that those things are at odds with each other is a part of this agenda, I'll call it, to remove the importance of the arts from our culture, to lessen the social function of the arts, which is to make us better. Because people in power want us to be worse, because us being worse allows for more inequality, which they directly benefit from. And I think another one too is, from a more personal standpoint, people who aren't artists, who don't know how to do what artists do, have contempt for artists. Not everyone. There are some people who understand that, oh, if I just work harder, I can be like them, who have a good attitude. But there are people that just have contempt for the existence of the arts. That's what these people on r/defending AI art are. They have contempt for artists. They are people who are incapable. They see other people creating things and they can't do it. And they hate that. They hate that with all their heart. And AI destroys that. It tears it all down, because some people would rather tear it all down than do the work to bring themselves up. So all of these things, greed, desire to weaken the arts, and contempt for artists, all of these things kind of come together in a soup that makes certain people want to put out something that says it was AI made. To be fair about a lot of this, we identified a little bit of choppiness, a little bit of issues. But I would say that most of this, judging from what it looks like, and it doesn't look great. I think that the character designs are very uninspired. I mean, let's just look at the goat here. Look at this character design of the Bluey family. You see how we get their vibes just from this image. We can really tell what all of these characters' roles are, what their personalities are. And that's just from one image. I mean, watch an episode. You should watch an episode. I know it looks like it's for 3-year-olds. It really, Bluey's a real, I can't go down a rabbit hole of why Bluey's great right now, but it's Blue, I guess maybe a little bit. Okay, maybe a little bit. Now let's look at, this guy and this mom. I mean, I guess he's got glasses. I guess he's kind of like a nerdy dad type, but I don't know, man. I just don't see it as much. And these aren't even AI, they're not AI generated characters. I think that they were drawn by a person, but it is a little bit weaker. And I do think that's telling that the character designs are a bit weaker in the one that uses AI, because people who have the talent to create characters like this, to create worlds like this, would generally not want parts of their animation to be assisted by AI. I think they would clock that would weaken their product. It's not a one-to-one. It doesn't apply to everyone. There are people who are very prolific creatives who have idiotic takes about AI. I mean, recently George Lucas said something stupid about it. Although George Lucas has been making bad decisions for longer than what he just said about AI. So, but I can't deny the man is talented in some ways, but and he had bad takes about AI. It's not a one-to-one, but I do think that it is a bit telling that even the part of the show that is doesn't have anything to do with AI, is human made, is weaker because they're the people who were willing to work with AI. Does that make sense? That there's some kind of a correlation there. I did praise that this is at least attempting to do something more than just have stuff on the screen. It's portraying a kid learning to clean up after himself. Very important lesson. I'm sure there's a Bluey episode about learning to clean up after yourself. Yeah. But the Bluey episode, I'm sure, does it better. All right. Housework is the name of the episode. Bluey. I'm sure I've seen it. I've seen all of Bluey. Mom and dad vow to only finish their boring housework when the kids stop acting silly, but that's never going to happen, so they end up trying the same approach themselves. Censorship. In the Disney version of this episode, the scene where Bandit does a spin and pulls his groin has been trimmed. Literally 1984. I think something else that Bluey does that helps with it fulfilling the social function of a preschool show more than just about any other show like it is that it involves the parents in a different way. If you look at this, it's very one-to-one. It's the parents are the authority. They tell the kid to clean up, like, but they're very nice because it's a preschool show. So they're like, you know, they're all like cutesy and, ooh, we're going to dance around and clean up, all that sort of stuff. But the parents are the authority and the kid is listening to the parents. And Bluey really does subvert this. Like, I mean, I guess the parents are still the authority in Bluey because they're the parents, but it generally, a Bluey episode involves the parents. Like even this housework, it focuses on how the parents have to clean up too. And I think that that's pretty valuable to a kid to communicate that truth that the parents have to clean up too. And also just that it's much more creative, that there's the whole thing where, you know, there's the whole thing with like the creativity of the kids doing like the weird stuff. I think when you do stuff that's silly like this, especially to a kid, it sticks in their mind more. And I think that that's just a lot stronger than a one-to-one, yeah, clean up your stuff and the floor is lava. Like I do think that while both this Ozzy Fox and Bluey fulfill the social function of what a preschool show should be, I think Ozzy Fox, at least from what I've seen of it, kind of misses the mark with something being very one-to-one. And that's not an AI thing. I'm sure there's many preschool shows that are like that. And I'm sure a lot of preschool shows don't have the same amount of oversight because they are that target audience. You know, an adult will look at a preschool show who doesn't really understand that sort of stuff, and they'll just be like, yeah, it's a song where they put away the clothes or whatever. And like, that's kind of it. But you can do more with it. And I do think that it's telling that, again, the AI one, the one that has AI assisted stuff, is the one that goes in the most milquetoast, the most path of least resistance direction. I think it's no coincidence that this is not like Bluey, that this does not have the immediate, oh, this is a show that you get when you watch Bluey. And also, this was created, I'm sure, with the intent of just normalizing AI. Whereas Bluey was created with the intent of, how do I make a really good preschool show? So, you know, when your intent for making something is just, how do I normalize a technology for a cynical reason? And look, you can make a story just for the sake of trying out new technologies or trying out a new genre. I mean, Toy Story, that's a great example, you know, like Toy Story, the existence of Toy Story, the story of Toy Story was designed so that they could test out that new technology. But the technology itself has to be a valid way to make art in the first place. If the technology that you're trying to use to make art is one that makes it not art anymore, of course, the only way that you're going to be able to normalize that is through schemes, is through tricks, is through quietly putting it out there, is through, doesn't this show look fine when it was AI assisted, not telling you where the AI was, so that people will watch this where it says AI and they think the whole thing was generated. I'm sure over 400,000 people watch this. They see AI show as the headline. I'm sure that there are people who just think the whole thing was generated from the ground up, who just have no concept of how AI currently is, because it could not do this. That is false. Like, you would not be able to create a 2-minute and 30-second thing, not even if you stitch stuff together. It just would not happen. But there are people who think that. Not everyone watches me and knows the subtleties of how AI works. They probably just think that. And that makes them more palatable to accepting it in the future, to accepting it as it goes along. I think I'll end off with this dumbass who was saying they are old enough to remember the crazy amount of pushback Pixar got for making Toy Story. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Toy Story wasn't a scheme. They just made a really good movie. and they used a different medium to make a really good movie. Were there negative consequences? Perhaps. I mean, the whole CGI animation thing, even this person is talking about dodging unions. There's a whole thing with that. I don't want to spread misinformation. I don't know all the subtleties of that. But there is something that went on where you don't see a lot of the 2D hand-drawn animation anymore, and that has had a negative impact on the arts. Absolutely. So, like, I'm not even going to say that everything about the existence of Toy Story was great. I think Toy Story is a fantastic movie. And I think that there's so much good stuff that Pixar has done. So I don't think that's really their fault. But bottom line is, making a movie with the methods that Toy Story used to make a movie is a way of telling a meaningful story. That is true. And by making Toy Story, they proved that. And they didn't do it by having it be schemes, by having it be lack of transparency, by having it be clouded by a sea of Reddit comment misinformation. It doesn't prove that. This doesn't prove that at all. You just slap the word AI on it, did mostly human work, and then there's a couple of times where you can tell they cut corners. And the parts that they cut corners is the AI stuff. That's not how Toy Story works. You don't look at Toy Story and be like, the parts of it that like look, oh, that's a part that looks bad. That's the CGI part. And the this is the actual comparison to Toy Story. If Toy Story was a 2D animated movie, and there were some parts of it that were CGI animated, and the parts that were CGI animated looked like garbage, and everyone rolled their eyes at them and went, ugh, that's the CGI part. That's the actual one-to-one comparison. Because you'll notice that Toy Story was made with only the CGI animation. There isn't any 2D animation in Toy Story, so it's not the same as AI, because the parts of this that were AI are the parts that look like garbage. And the parts of it that were human made were the parts of it that look like kind of fine. And then the whole project is a little bit weaker because the only people who are working on it are people who are okay with AI, who are on average worse artists. So I hope I've cleared up a lot of misinformation about this Ozzy Fox thing. It's a tricky world out there. Really, I think you can only trust me. You should go unsubscribe to every YouTube channel except this one and the main channel, of course, because all of them will give you misinformation without exception. Just kidding. That was misinformation, but you got to be careful out there. So yeah, that's Ozzy Fox. It's just gonna pitter out. It's gonna fade into obscurity. It's gonna be a nothing. Like, really, this is gonna be the thing, like when you hear someone talk about Bluey, you think anyone's ever going to talk about this show in the same way? Maybe it'll be Coco Melon. I mean, I guess Coco Melon's garbage, and like, you really got to brute force that. All right. Away with you, Ozzy Fox.